What's up, Fintech homies? Welcome back. You guys ready to dive deep?
Always.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Today, we're cracking open Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Nice.
This book has been blowing up, right?
Sure.
And for good reason.
Yeah,
It's all about those tiny changes that lead to massive results,
absolutely.
which is kind of what we're all about here at Fintech homies, right?
Yeah.
We're leveling up our money game, our businesses.
For sure.
But we're going to break down how these Atomic Habits principles can apply to our finances, businesses, and investing.
Sounds good.
But first, like a little backstory on James Clear, the author.
Okay.
Dude was a beast in baseball, right?
Yeah.
Then, bam, serious injury, lands him in a coma,
Whoa.
but he bounces back,
Really?
becomes an academic All-American.
That's awesome.
And that whole journey, it kind of mirrors the message of Atomic Habits, right? Small changes, big results.
Definitely.
So let's jump into it. One of the biggest takeaways from the book, and probably the most mind-blowing, is this idea of forgetting about goals and focusing on systems.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I was like, what? Forget goals.
Right.
But then it clicked.
Right.
It's kind of counterintuitive, right?
Totally.
Explain that a little bit for our homies.
Well, think of it this way. Goals are like the destination, right?
Yeah.
Like where you want to end up.
Right.
But systems are the roadmap, the actual steps that get you there.
I see. So it's not just about saying, I want to buy a house or I want to retire early.
Exactly.
It's about the daily habits, the little things you do every day
Yeah.
that put you on the path to actually making those things happen.
That's it.
And James Clear puts it perfectly. He says, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Powerful stuff.
It really is. So it's not luck. It's not magic. It's those everyday actions, those systems you put in place that determine where you end up.
100%.
And you know what? This ties in perfectly with what we've talked about before on Fintech Homies, compound growth in investing.
Oh, for sure.
It's not about getting rich quick. It's those consistent small contributions that over time add up to something massive.
Absolutely. And just like with investing, building good habits takes time. You might not see those results immediately.
Yeah, that's where the plateau of latent potential comes in.
Right. That awesome visual from the book.
It basically shows how those small changes you make, they might not seem like much at first,
Totally.
but they're building up beneath the surface and then bam, breakthrough.
Like an explosion.
Yeah, exactly. I always think of it like you're hitting the gym every day, eating healthy.
Yeah.
You don't see those six-pack abs right away.
Nope.
Might even start doubting the process.
Happens to the best of us.
But then one day, everything clicks.
It all comes together.
Clear uses this killer analogy. He says, complain about not seeing success despite working hard. It's like complaining that an ice cube isn't melting when you heat it from like 25 degrees to 31 degrees.
Right.
The real magic happens at 72 degrees, the tipping point.
That's such a good analogy.
Right. It just drives home that patience and consistency are key.
In everything, whether we're talking about building a business, investing, or just forming those good habits.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of habits, James Clear breaks down this whole habit formation process into 4 laws.
He does.
And they're surprisingly simple, but crazy effective.
Yeah, they really are.
So lay it on us. What's the first law?
Make it obvious.
Make it obvious.
Yep. So it's about designing your environment to cue those good habits.
Okay.
Let's say you want to save more money.
Yeah.
Could you set up automatic transfers to your savings account every time you get paid?
Ooh, that's a classic, right?
Right.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. You're less tempted to spend what you don't even see.
Tried and true. Works like a charm.
It does. And this applies beyond just personal finance, too.
Okay.
Think about building a business.
Right.
You're an entrepreneur. You're trying to create that consistent content like James Clear did with his blog.
Yeah.
Could you dedicate a specific time and place each day for writing?
I like that. So it's about making that desired behavior part of your routine, almost like setting an appointment with yourself for success.
Exactly.
Right. What's the second law?
Make it attractive.
Make it attractive.
So this one's about pairing that desired financial action with something enjoyable.
Okay.
For example, could you reward yourself with a little something, a treat, an experience, after you've stuck to your budget for the month?
Oh, I like that. It's like training your brain to crave that good financial behavior.
Exactly.
Instead of seeing it as deprivation, you're associating it with something positive.
You got it.
Okay, brilliant. Next up, make it easy.
You got it. It's all about removing those barriers to good financial habits.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Especially for people who are just starting out with investing.
It can be intimidating.
All the jargon, all the different
Oh,
strategies.
yeah,
But it doesn't have to be complicated. Even small steps lead to big results.
for sure.
What's like one thing someone could do today to make investing easier?
Hmm. Well, if you're feeling overwhelmed by picking individual stocks or, managing a complex portfolio,
Yeah.
maybe check out robo-advisors.
Robo-advisors.
Yeah, they automate the whole investing process based on your risk tolerance and your financial goals.
Perfect. It's like using technology to your advantage to remove those mental barriers.
Exactly.
Oh, and speaking of making things easy, remember that 2-minute rule we've talked
Oh,
about?
yeah, that's a good one.
Breaking those big, scary tasks into tiny, manageable chunks.
Right. Instead of saying, I'm going to write a whole blog post,
Yep.
you say, I'm just going to open my laptop and type for 2 minutes.
Exactly. Run 3 miles becomes tie my shoes.
Haha, exactly. Making that initial step super easy.
Yeah.
So you overcome that procrastination.
You trick your brain into getting started, and then you're more likely to keep going, right?
100%. Well begun is half done, as they say.
Love it. All right, bring on that final law.
Make it satisfying.
Make it satisfying. Okay, what's that all about?
Well, our brains are wired for that instant gratification.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we got to find ways to make good financial habits feel rewarding now, even if the big payoff is way down the road.
Yeah, that's the struggle, right?
Yeah.
Instant gratification versus long-term goals.
Right.
How do you bridge that gap?
You can get creative.
Okay.
One way to make saving more satisfying is to track your progress visually,
Visually. Okay.
like with a chart or an app.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing those savings grow can be super motivating.
It's like a video game.
Yeah.
Leveling up.
Exactly.
It taps into that desire for achievement. Gamifies the whole thing.
For sure. And you could even set up a system where you reward yourself for hitting milestones. Hit your savings goal for the month.
Yeah.
Treat yourself to dinner. Buy that book you've been wanting.
Okay, I'm liking this. My whole approach to personal finance is getting a makeover.
Uh-huh. That's great.
So we've got the 4 laws. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying.
Got him.
But Atomic Habits goes even deeper than that, right?
It does.
It gets into the psychology of habit formation. Claire argues that your habits shape your identity.
And your identity shapes your habits.
Whoa. Okay, break that down for us.
Think about it. How you see yourself impacts your actions,
Yeah,
and your actions reinforce that self-image.
okay.
So if you think of yourself as someone who's disciplined with money,
Right.
you're more likely to make choices that align with that.
But if you see yourself as bad with money,
Yeah.
you're going to keep falling into those same traps.
Exactly.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You become what you believe.
That's it.
So it's not just about the tactics. It's about shifting your mindset.
Mindset is everything.
Believe it in yourself and your ability to manage money well.
Absolutely.
Powerful stuff, Fintech homies.
For sure.
Cleary uses some really cool examples in the book to illustrate this whole identity thing. The story of the Polgar sisters. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, the chess prodigies.
Right. Their dad created an environment where chess was like their whole world.
Their life.
Chess books everywhere, playing against each other constantly.
It was all chess, all the time.
Exactly. So it wasn't just talent, right?
Yeah.
It was the environment, the culture that nurtured their abilities.
100%. And that's what made chess so attractive to them.
Yeah, it was just a normal part of their lives.
Yay.
Not a chore. This is a great example of how social norms can influence our habits.
That's powerful.
We tend to imitate the people around us, especially those we admire.
Especially those we admire.
And this applies to financial decisions too, right?
Big time.
Think about it. If all your friends are talking about investing,
Yeah.
you're more likely to get curious.
And start learning yourself.
It's that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
If those people are crushing it financially, you're probably going to step up your game.
For sure.
And the opposite is true too, right?
Totally. If you're surrounded by people who are struggling or have a negative attitude towards money,
Yeah.
it's tough to break free from those patterns.
So Fintech homies, take a look at your crew.
Yeah.
Are they supporting your financial goals?
Good question.
Or maybe even unintentionally holding you back?
That's real.
It's about creating an ecosystem that supports your financial growth.
Exactly.
This has been a fantastic deep dive into the first part of Atomic Habits. We've covered some serious ground: the power of systems, the 4 laws of behavior change, and the influence of social norms.
It's amazing how much wisdom is packed into this book.
And we're just getting started.
More to come.
In part 2 of this deep dive, we'll explore how to reframe your relationship with boredom, the importance of starting small, and how to use technology to automate your good habits.
Can't wait.
We'll also discuss how to break those beliefs that are holding you back and how to design a system for continuous improvement so you can achieve that lasting financial success.
Stay tuned, Fintech homies. So Fintech homies, before we jumped away, we were talking about how our environment and even the people we hang with can really mess with our money habits.
Totally. Like you can have the best intentions, but if your whole world's pushing you in the wrong direction, it's tough to stay on track.
It's like trying to run uphill both ways in the snow.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to another crazy interesting idea from Atomic Habits, reframing your relationship with, get this, boredom.
Boredom.
Yeah, boredom. Now, I don't usually think of boredom and finance in the same sentence.
Right, right. But think about it. How often do we ditch our goals because, we're chasing that quick hit of excitement?
Ooh, that's good.
And then when things start to feel like routine or, those flashy results don't show up right away, we lose steam.
It's so true, especially in the investing world, right?
Yeah.
It's not always going to be those crazy gains every day. Sometimes it's, well, kind of boring.
Exactly. It's about playing the long game, sticking with the process, even when it's not, Instagram worthy.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of that quote from the book, the one from the weightlifting coach. At some point, it comes down to who can handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over.
So good. It's a reminder that consistency is king. And that's where Clear's whole thing about professionals versus the amateurs comes in, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. What was it?
Professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way.
Boom. Mic drop. So it's not about being some kind of superhuman. It's about having systems, routines that make it easier to, just stay the course.
Even when you're not feeling it. And remember, those systems don't have to be complicated. The 2-minute rule. Start small, super easy, can't say no kind of small.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, the 2-minute rule is my jam. It's a game changer. Instead of, I'm going to write a whole blog post, it's, I'm going to open my laptop and type for 2 minutes.
Yes. Meditate for 30 minutes becomes just close my eyes for 2 minutes.
You're basically tricking your brain into getting started. And then next thing you know, you're doing way more than you thought you would.
Exactly. Those small wins build up. They create this momentum, this sense of, hey, I can do this. And that fuels the next action.
It's like those tiny actions, over time, they compound.
Kind of like Darnton.
King of which, what about technology? How does that play into all this habit stuff?
Oh, technology is like a secret weapon. Especially these days, we've got all these tools and apps that can automate our good habits and put those bad ones on lockdown.
Right. Like we were talking earlier about setting up automatic transfers to your savings account every time you get paid. Boom, you're investing without even thinking about it.
Yeah, or using a budgeting app.
A budgeting app. Oh, yeah.
Keeps track of your spending, gives you a nudge when you're getting close to your limits.
It's like having a little financial guardian angel on your shoulder.
Exactly. It's all about taking advantage of what's out there to make things easier.
And then there's this whole idea of habit stacking.
Oh, yeah. Habit stacking. Love that.
Which I got to say is pretty genius. You're basically linking a new habit to an existing one.
Piggybacking on those routines you already do every day without even thinking.
Like, let's say you're a coffee person, right?
Yeah.
You got to have your cup every morning. So while that coffee's brewing, you commit to reviewing your financial goals.
Ooh, that's good. Or reading a page from a personal finance book.
Yes. It's about finding those natural triggers in your day and turning them into cues for positive behavior.
Exactly. And, speaking of behavior, we've talked a lot about building good habits, but what about breaking the bad ones? The ones that are holding us back financially?
Oh, yeah, the bad boys. Those are tough.
They are. But James Clear lays out some really practical tips for dealing with them. It's like flipping the script on those 4 laws we talked about.
Okay, so instead of making it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying,
you do the opposite. Make those bad habits invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
the opposite game.
Exactly.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So if you're trying to, cut back on impulse spending, maybe you delete those shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from those tempting email lists. Yes. Make it physically harder to get to your credit card. Yes. Increase that friction Make those bad choices harder to make.
You got it. And making them unattractive, it's about shifting your mindset, reframing those negative behaviors.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Like if you're trying to eat out less, maybe you focus on how much healthier and cheaper it is to cook at home,
Exactly. You're highlighting those positive long-term rewards.
instead of dwelling on this sacrifice of giving up those restaurant meals.
Exactly. But we got to be real. Even with all the best systems and hacks in place,
We're human.
we're going to mess up. We'll overspend, miss a workout, make an impulsive decision. The key is not to let those slip-ups totally derail us.
Oh yeah, James Clear talks about the 2-day rule, right? Never miss a habit twice.
Yes. It's about acknowledging the misstep, but not letting it turn into a full-blown backslide.
You give yourself grace, forgive yourself, and get back on track the next day.
Exactly. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency over the long haul.
And that consistency, it's what ultimately leads to those big transformations in our finances and our lives.
100%.
Fintech homies, this has been an awesome dive into like the nitty-gritty of building those good habits, but we're not done yet.
More to come.
In part 3, we're going to explore some like pro-level tactics for taking things to the next level. We'll dig into the truth about talent and how to find that game where the odds are in your favor.
It's going to be good.
Stay tuned, Fintech homies. We'll be right back. Fintech homies, we are back. Ready for the final round of our Atomic Habits deep dive.
Let's do it.
We've uncovered some seriously good stuff already, but buckle up because we're about to explore some next-level strategies.
Time to supercharge that financial game.
That's right. So let's talk about talent. You know, a lot of people think success is all about natural ability. You're either born with it or you're not.
Right, that whole gifted thing.
But James Clear kind of flips that idea on its head in Atomic Habits.
He does.
What's he say about talent?
Well, he challenges that whole idea that you're either born a financial whiz or you're destined to struggle.
Yeah, I like that. Takes the pressure off.
Exactly. Genetics definitely play a role, but they don't dictate your destiny.
So it's not about having some magical money gene.
Nope. It's more about understanding your unique strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, so play to your strengths.
Yes. And then choosing a game that, maximizes those strengths.
Find your financial sweet spot.
Exactly. He uses some really interesting examples in the book to illustrate this.
Like what?
He compares Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer, to Hicham El Guerrouj, the world record-holding runner.
Okay, 2 totally different athletes.
Right. Phelps is obviously super talented, but he also has a physical advantage in the pool.
Yeah, his body's built for it.
Exactly. Long torso, short legs, perfect for swimming.
Then you've got El Guerrouj, built for speed and endurance on land.
Exactly. Slight frame, long legs, ideal for running.
So they're both incredible athletes, but they excel in different areas.
Different playing fields, and that's what we need to figure out our financial lives.
Yeah. What are we naturally good at?
Exactly. Where can we best leverage our skills and talents to reach our goals?
So how do we actually do that? How do we figure out our financial superpower?
Well, start by taking a hard look at yourself.
Be honest.
Yes. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Are you a natural saver?
Or maybe a spender.
Haha, right. Or maybe you're amazing at generating income.
Ooh, yeah. Or are you a risk taker who loves the stock market roller coaster?
Or do you prefer a more slow and steady approach?
It's like discovering your financial DNA.
It is. And once you know what you're working with, you can tailor your strategies to fit.
I like that. So if you're a natural saver, maybe you go all in on maxing out your retirement contributions.
Exactly. Or building a super strong emergency fund.
But if you're like a networking master, you might crush it starting a business that's all about sales and connections.
Exactly. You're playing to your strengths.
Find that financial game where you have the home field advantage.
Yes. And this ties into another cool concept from Atomic Habits, the Goldilocks rule.
Goldilocks rule.
Ugh.
Okay, now we're talking fairy tales.
Haha, kinda. The Goldilocks rule basically says that we're most motivated when we're working on tasks that are right on the edge of our current abilities.
Not too easy, not too hard.
The sweet spot. Challenging enough to keep you engaged, but not so tough that you get discouraged.
Like learning a new language.
Perfect example. Too easy, you get bored. Too hard, you want to quit.
You got to find that perfect balance to stay motivated.
Exactly. So, how do we apply this to our finances?
Yeah, how do we find our financial Goldilocks zone?
Well, think about setting goals that stretch you, push you a little, but don't completely overwhelm you.
So if you're brand new to investing, Don't dive headfirst into day trading.
Right. Start with something more manageable, index funds, a robo-advisor, something like that.
And as you learn and get comfortable, you can level up your investments.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between challenge and skill that keeps you excited.
I love that. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, last question. How do we use feedback to actually improve our financial habits?
Feedback is crucial. Clear talks about this a lot in the book. Reflection, review, it's all part of the process.
So it's not just setting it and forgetting it.
Nope. You got to be flexible, make adjustments as you go.
Learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. Clear actually has this whole system he uses, an annual review where he looks at what went well, what didn't, and identifies areas to work on.
Kind of like a financial report card.
Exactly. And he does these integrity reports too.
What are those?
He basically checks in with himself, makes sure his actions are lining up with his values.
It's like holding yourself accountable for the how, not just the what.
Exactly. And this is something we can all do in our financial lives. Take the time to step back, see how things are going, and make changes if needed.
So Fintech homies, as we wrap up this epic deep dive into atomic habits, what are the big takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
First and foremost, remember it's about systems, not just goals.
Build those habits that will consistently move you forward.
Make those habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
And remember, start small, embrace that consistency even when it's boring, and find your financial sweet spot.
Yes, use technology to your advantage, automate those good habits, make it harder to slip up. And remember, success isn't a destination, it's a journey.
A continuous process of learning, growing, and improving.
Exactly.
Atomic Habits is a must-read for anyone who wants to level up their financial game, I'm telling you.
Couldn't agree more.
Fintech homies, if you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more. We're here to help you build those atomic habits that will transform your financial life.
Until next time, keep crushing it.